The 49ers are in a slightly different posture. They've already turned the page from veteran to young guy. Easier to do when it's Jimmy Garoppolo and not Aaron Rodgers. And we've been focused so much on the end game for Jimmy Garoppolo, we haven't paid as much attention on whether or not Trey Lance is going to be the guy. And I know last night during the game, based on some of the texts I was getting from Chris Sims, I got the impression he's thinking this may not be the guy. The decision-making, the accuracy, there could still be a question as to whether or not Trey Lance can get it done. Let's hear from Kyle Shanahan and Trey Lance on his performance last night in Houston against the Texans.
I mean, I wish it was cleaner just from a whole, but I'm not going to make too much of it. You know, we wanted him to get just 2 drives. I ended up giving him 3 because I wanted to give him a little bit more there, but there weren't too many opportunities, and we got in some long down and distances, which made it tough.
Some ups and downs for sure. It never feels good to lose, but we'll learn from it, turn the page. Not going to make a bigger deal out of it than we need to, for sure. But, man, like I said, man, never feels good to lose. Some ugly stuff out there, for sure. Man, definitely wasn't our best night, but like I said, man, we're not going to make a big deal, too big of a deal out of it. Watch the tape tomorrow, learn from it, get better.
I think it's significant. He is sweaty. And he was out of the game for a while, too, by then. Look, Charean, the idea that Kyle Shanahan went into that game planning to give Trey Lance 2 drives, and this is the product of a very careful balance that every coach has to engage in. If he's putting his starters on the field, am I willing to expose my starter to risk of injury? Yes, I am, because he needs the work. Well, when you decide on the fly that you're going to keep him in for a 3rd drive, and you're consciously accepting in the moment that risk of exposing him to injury, you're doing it because you think he needs the work. You don't like what you saw those first 2 drives. And you're maybe alarmed at some level by what Trey Lance has done. And I'm reminded of what happened last year. Chris is a firm believer that there was a game against the Chargers in the preseason. Jimmy Garoppolo struggled. Trey Lance entered. And the way Chris just kind of read the body language of Kyle Shanahan, a guy he's known for years, even though Shanahan doesn't say anything to him now because he knows, number one, Chris has a big mouth, and number 2, Chris works in media. But and we love you. Chris isn't watching, so I can say whatever I want about him, and I would say it directly to him, so I feel no quiet. It's not like I'm talking about the guy. Number 1, it would get back to him. Number 2, I would say it if he was on the show. But Chris saw in Shanahan kind of a disappointment that Lance didn't rise to that occasion when he had an opportunity to maybe take the job last year. I just wonder whether or not last night Shanahan was hoping that he'd see a little more from Lance as he steps into this job. And it makes me wonder whether or not and this is a different topic altogether, and I have a theory on what they're going to do with Jimmy Garoppolo, but maybe there's an added benefit to keeping him on the roster, not just waiting for lightning to strike somewhere else. But if the lawnmower never gets started with Trey Lance, I can't. It's crazy talk. I'm thinking out loud. There's no way they're going to bail on Trey Lance halfway through the season and go back to Jimmy Garoppolo. There's no way they're going to do it. They gave up too much for Trey Lance. They got to give him all of this year. They got to give him all of next year at a minimum to become the guy that they thought he was going to be when they made him the 3rd overall pick. The point is, if you're a 49ers fan, there's reason to be concerned that Trey Lance isn't going to immediately step into the role where he can deliver victory. Shanahan can. With his game planning, their defense is good. They can still win games. This may not be the year to make your reservations for Arizona in February if you're a 49ers fan, and I know there's been this perpetual hope that they're going to get there. They're going to get there. We're going to win the Super Bowl. Lance has some work to do to get the 49ers in position to compete for a Super Bowl, Charean.
And I'll take it one step further, Mike. After watching Purdy and Sudfeld play, I'm like, they better get Jimmy Garoppolo in tune and back on this team as the backup quarterback, because if Trey Lance gets hurt, which, by the way, he did in a small sample size last year, they have nobody behind him. I'm sorry. Neither of those guys are ready to play, can do what the 49ers want to do this season. Trey Lance was put in a very difficult situation yesterday, Mike, because he didn't have his offensive line. He didn't have all his starting running backs. He didn't have his receivers out there. And I thought he was going to get killed. And when he got his arm hit, I think it was Jerry Hughes that hit him. They couldn't block Jerry Hughes. And this is a backup offensive line. And you heard Trent Williams during that game say, they asked him about the play of the offensive line, and he said, I think there's going to be a lot of coaching done this week. And there will be a lot of coaching done. But that wasn't their starting offensive line. They put him in harm's way. They're lucky that he didn't get hurt and did get those reps. But you're right, Mike. That tells you that they felt like that the risk was worth it. The risk of injury was worth it because he needed the reps more than anything else. Even without the starting offensive line, even without all his weapons, he needed the reps to try to get better. So I do think there is some concern based on how long he played and the fact that he even played yesterday because he is their unquestioned starter.
Hi, I'm Mike Tirico, and thanks for watching. Make sure to hit subscribe for the latest news and highlights from NBC Sports.